Hello and welcome everyone. This is Stephanie Reese with Maureen Bradley Designs, and today I am working on part 2 of our butterfly effect pendant. And this is the first one I created. So just showing you what it looks like. I've attached my butterfly to my flower piece and then a bunch of bellflowers with leaves. And I'm going to try to share with you as much as I possibly can in 30 minutes. This is the chain that I created to go with this pendant, and it's very luminous, as you can see, with just some pretty colors to match. So let's get started. We're going to be working on this butterfly and flower that we made in the last video. If you have not had a chance to watch that video, it is in the live portion of the Maureen Bradley Designs YouTube channel. So to begin, I am going to be leaving my flower piece just as it is. It's all dry and has some pretty greens, whites, and pink in it. I think I'm going to be having more of the green on this side, so I'm going to be attaching the butterfly here with the middle hole, as I did with this piece. So to start, if you'll notice on this piece, I buffed the wings of my butterfly with a vintage buffing block to take away some of the paint that is just on the lines of the butterfly there. Try to get that in the camera. And that way you can see the veins of the butterfly and the brass gold that is underneath the paint. I loved how it turned out. So now I wanted to share with you how I did that on this one. So I left my butterfly flat so that I could do that. I've already gone ahead and done this side. So you can see that some of those veins in this butterfly wing are showing as well. So the sides of the buffing block, this is the sandpaper side. That's going to take the paint off. And this is the smooth side. Like this top and this top is smooth, so you would shine the metal up with these two sides. And then the sandpaper here takes away the paint on your metal piece. So I'm just going to do that real quick, just so that you can see. And as you can tell, I'm just sorry if I'm shaking the camera a little bit, but it just takes away some of that paint. And I'm not really touching these the antennas of my butterfly very much. I've already kind of just dotted it so you see some of the brass underneath. And I'm going to kind of go quickly here because I know we only have 30 minutes. But I just wanted you to see what the buffing block kind of does. And it just takes away the paint that's on those top lines and a little bit on the raised part of the butterfly, as you can see. I love how some of the gold just kind of shines through. And then you can really see it here on the middle portion of the butterfly. So that's all you do is you're just taking the buffing block and you're removing the paint from those top lines and maybe some of the top part of the texture of the butterfly. And then you can take the top. Actually, I think the top may be a little sandy too, so maybe it's just the bottom that you're shining everything up with, and that kind of gives the metal part a shine to it. Okay. And it doesn't take much, as you can see. So I'm just shining that up and hoping my fingers aren't too dirty. Yeah, they're a little bit dirty. That's okay. All right. And then I'm just going to take a cloth and I'm just going to wipe away some of that dust that may have come away from the paint. And that's what it looks like. So we're still keeping it flat so that we can attach it. And in order to attach it, I didn't talk about tools, did I? So I should probably talk about tools. So you're going to need some basic pliers. We've got chain nose pliers and round nose pliers. Then you're going to need a cutter. I have a flush cutter here. And then to our tool list, I'm adding this vintage hole punch. As you can see, it's a hole punch with a little divot there so that we can punch through metal. So that's what we're going to do right now. And I'm going to be, because I don't have a pointer on me, but I'm going to place my hole here and here on each side of the wings. And if you'll notice on this one, the larger part of my butterfly here, I placed the hole here and here, and because it was so far down, my butterfly still toggled a little bit, so I attached it up at the top of my butterfly too with some seed beads. Lay that back down, and so I'm just going to take my hole punch and make my hole about there, and you just want to gently ease up on your hole punch, and you can see where my finger is underneath where I made the hole. I'm going to go ahead and do another one on the other side, and I'm not doing anything perfect here. I'm just sort of eyeballing where I placed my hole on the other side, just so it's sort of equal. Don't worry about being perfect. And I've made another hole on that side, as you can see there, on both sides. So now, and then you just cleaning my mat a little bit. So now I have some 26 gauge brass wire that I'm going to do a pretty good length of. It's probably about 16 inches, maybe 15, 16 inches. And I'm just going to put that away because we're going to wrap a couple of times with the wire. So to start, I'm going to come up through the hole here, and I'm going to place one side of my butterfly, and I'm going to come up through that hole there. So make sure you can see that I'm coming up through one of the holes there, and I'm attaching my butterfly there. And then try not to get wire in your face here. And I'm just sort of running my fingers along that wire just to kind of warm it up a little bit and to help me with pushing it through. So on this side, there's a hole right there. I kind of wanted my butterfly to be tilted a little bit to the side. So that's where I'm going to bring my wire through and then up through the other hole. If I can see. All right. Oops. Okay. Let's see. Maybe this will be better. So I want my butterfly to be tilted, and then I'm just taking the other side. There we go. I got it. And I'm just going to pull that wire up through the other side gently. Careful not to add any kinks to the wire on the other side. So I've got some unevenness here, so I want to make sure that my wire is equal on this side. So there we go, we're a little more equal. So now I'm pulling it like that so that my butterfly looks like that on top of my flower. And I'm going to go down with each side, alternating the sides. I'm going to come back out through the other side with my wire through the hole. I'm just hitting everything on my table. And I'm going to hold the wire with my thumb. And then I'm going to bring the other one down so that both of my wires are now at the back of my pendant. And you want to make sure that wire's snug. So if you have to, pull it tight. Try not to pull too hard because the 26 gauge wire can break. So now both of my wires are at the back. As you can see, I've sort of threaded it through. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come back up. And then we're just going to add some pretty seed beads to decorate the front and cover that wire. Okay. So now both my wires are going to be at the front. And again, I'm just running my fingers over the wire, trying to help you see what I'm doing. Just threading the wire back and forth. I did that 2 times. And then this 3rd time, I'm going to add some seed beads. So I have a little bit of mixed up seed beads here. And I'm trying to think, what color should I add? And I really love this purple, and I think we'll add purple and copper. So I'm just going to do alternating seed beads here. One day I had these inside my, see, I'm just dropping them down. So we're just going to cover that little area where the wire is. I had these seed beads in a tote, and when I went to close the tote, they were all separated at the time, but when I closed the tote, I jumbled it and the seed beads all went everywhere. Thankfully, inside the tote, I'm grateful for that, but they were all mixed up, and so I just decided that that's how it's going to be, and look how pretty it looks together, all those colors. All right, so I'm just making sure I cover the side here. Do you see that? I'm just going to cover where the wire is. So I'm going to add one more purple, and then we're going to be done with that side. And then I'm going to take my wire and pass it down again so that the seed beads are at the top. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Just making sure it's tight. You don't want to pull too hard because you can break the 26 gauge wire. The bottom one I'm going to alternate with copper first and then purple. Okay. And that's going to be, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7 seed beads for each side to cover that little space where we have wire. So I have 2, 4, 6. I need one more copper. All right, and then I'm just going to move this out of your way so you can see better. And again, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7. Yep, I'm going to pass that wire back down the opposite hole. So now that I've got everything lined up, I'm not struggling anymore and I just keep my finger on the butterfly and the flower, pressing them together. And again, I want to make sure I don't have any kinks. It wants to kink up, doesn't it? But I'm not going to let it. There we go. And then I'm just gently pulling a little bit on those wires in the back, warming them up. I've got my finger on top of the seed beads. I'll show it to you. I think that looks so pretty. All right, so now I'm going to flip the flower and butterfly over, keeping my finger on this. And I'm going to, I know it might be hard to see, but you can see where the wires are right here. I'm just going to add the end of my wire under all those wires. And I'm just going to wrap. If you need to grab your pliers, you can do that as well. There's one wrap. Keep that wire warm. And we're going to come down again. I'm going to wrap about 3 times. Trying not to go in the hole there. There we go. And I'm trying to, hopefully you can see, I'm wrapping a second time on that side. And I'm going to wrap one more time. Whoops. And my wire wants to go. If that keeps happening, you can take your wire and sort of bend it up just a little. That way it won't keep going down the holes of the flower. And then I'm going to bring that up one more time right next to that. And we do have a lot of wire left over. I'd rather have a little wire left over that you can use for another project than not have enough. So now I'm going to flush cut right up next to the wire. And get rid of that extra piece. And you just put that in your little scrap pot because it can be used for something else. And then I have these pointed that I love. These are some of my favorite pliers that I'm just putting right down in there. And everything's snug, as you can see. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Again, keeping your wire warm. And we're going to pass it through. And then I'm just going to keep wrapping 3 times. Pull it snug so that everything stays in place. Once. And there's my second wrap. If you keep warming the wire, the less kinks it will get in it. And here's my third, and you see how it creates a nice loop? And it will keep it from kinking up and causing the wire to, warming it really helps a lot. So I've just clipped that away, and I have a nice little wrap here with no hard edges. And I'm just making sure my little end there is tucked up and under. There we go. And then there's the top part of my butterfly. And my butterfly barely moves. So I'm just going to take these little wings like I did on this one, and I'm going to gently push up. Gently. Just to give it that look like he or she just landed and is enjoying that beautiful flower. Just like that. All right, I probably have enough time to show you how I attached this middle flower. So I'm going to take 2 of these. These are probably about 6 inches, 8 inches. And I need 1 here of these shorter edges, and I'll show you. I take see my pliers it has a small side and a large side. So I took the small side and I just wrapped the wire around the small side, making like a tiny scroll. This wire is so bendable and pliable. So you just kind of wrapped it around 3 times. Hopefully you can see that. To the end, and then I push in to give the wire a little bit of a neck. And then I take my other pliers and I'm just going to close that in. So that's how I made my little flower ends. And then for each one of these pieces, so these are like 6 to 8 inches, and this is 4 to 5 inches, the short one. I put a little seed bead on each one. I put a green seed bead on each one of my little flower stems. And now I'm going to feed all 3 pieces through my blue bellflower here. And if you need to, you can do one at a time. I tend to do just one at a time because there's one. Because you don't want to get the wires twisted inside that hole because it won't sit right. So there's 2. And then I'll add my third. And the third short one, so that's this one. This bellflower has 3. So it has a bellflower, a metal flower, and then the larger flower. So I'm going to go ahead and feed all 3 of these. That flower. Like that. And that shorter piece, I'm going to wrap around the other 2 wires. Like so. Get them untangled here. So I'm just bending that up. And I'm going to hold my thumb on the front. And I'm going to wrap around. I'm trying to let you see here. It's going to wrap around those other 2 wires. Pulling everything tight. Keeping it. Go. And I'm just wrapping around it a few times. Whoops, sorry for wires in your face. As you can see, I'm scrolling around the wire. Come back down and just try to get it at the base so that everything is kind of coiled together like that. And then when you feel like everything's sort of tight in there, like so, we can trim away that extra wire here. Just see one more time where I've got it. I've just kind of coiled it around and made it snug. Keep your pieces. Don't let them fly off on you. And I'm just tucking in that little edge there. And now what we're going to do is take one of these up and one out like that. And you're going to feed this flower onto this like so. All right. And so now, I don't know if we can see here, but I'll try to show you. I've attached the flower in the back through a couple of different, and I've also wrapped it around the base so that it stays straight up and doesn't really move. So that's what we're going to do here. So I sort of have it off to the side, and then I'm going to take this edge and this other one, and I'm going to put it to the back as well. Making sure to keep warming my wires. And as you can see, I've got 2 wires in the back here. Like that. Maybe that's a better view for you. Okay. So now, again, you're going to push that wire over, go through opposite sides so that we're connecting the flower tightly. Not too tight, but tightly. And then we're going to come back up through this side of the flower. So I've got one coming out that side. And then this other one, I'm going to come up to the other side. All right, so now it looks like this. It's kind of crazy, right? Gently pulling and warming your wire so that it doesn't get caked up. So now that I've got my connection made here, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to come around and I'm going to wrap at the base of my purple flower with everything underneath it down. Same thing with my other wire. I'm going to come around and I'm going to wrap at the base of my purple flower so that both my wires are now alternating again. Let's see. It's hard to see it, but I've wrapped around the inside there. Let's see, maybe you can see it that way. I'm going to go one more time around the base of my flower. See how it's no longer moving? Let's go one more time. And you're just gently pulling on that wire. You don't want to pull too hard, because if you do, you could snap the 26 gauge wire. So I'm happy with that. Okay, happy with that at the base. So now we're going to come back out and I want my wires, and try not to get that kink in your wire. There we go. I'm just going to come back to the back of my flower like so. Okay. There we go. Right. And remember how we wrapped around the wire here? We're going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to move that wire out of your way. And I'm going to come under those wires. And I'm going to give it 3 little wire wraps to the back, wrapping snugly without getting any kinks in my wire. I'm gently warming it. There's 2. And then there's a 3. And if you need to, you can pull it with your pliers a little bit so that it's snug. And like the other one we connected, we're just going to do that. And then I want to just make sure I don't have any rough edges. I'm just tucking that in and flattening it out. All right. Same thing with the other side. Anchoring in my flower with 1 wrap. Got 2 wraps. And then 3. Okay. And then I'm snipping that away, holding on to it, and then making sure all my wraps are tight there. And there you have your little first flower attached to here. And then I also, so there's that one, the little wrap. And then if you need to, you can make sure everything's kind of snug and push down. There's no rough edges. And then for here, I kind of take my fingers and I just kind of push away those little scrolls so that you'll be able to see the little, you can even take your round those pliers and kind of move them to the side. That way you'll be able to see your little green seed beads in there. All right, so there's that one. And I think what I want to do now is simply show you how I made the little bellflowers, because we're getting short on time. So in the last minute or so, I'll just share with you how I did make the little bellflower for this bottom leaf here. And then I just simply connected everything with jump rings there. So here we go. So I have this, a little ball head pin, and I have a yellow bellflower with a green Swarovski crystal, and I place my bellflower over the crystal like that. And then I'm using the small side of my flowers to make my loop. I put it right next to the top of the bellflower. Let me move this out of the way. And then I bend the loop here. I'm coming in about 1/4 of an inch on my pliers. I'm wrapping around and I'm rotating my hand up and then pulling that stem and just rocking it a little bit up to make a loop. All right, and then I take my chain nose pliers and I hold on to it. And because the head pin wires or the ball pin wires they're pretty, the gauge is pretty thick, I have a hard time wrapping it with my hands. So I pull on the one side and I just round the wire around that top part where the loop is. And then I've been enjoying double wrapping my wire. So I'm going to come around one more time. And I leave a tiny little bit of gap there because it looks like a vine to me. Oops, I'm so sorry for moving the camera. So that's what that looks like there. And then I'm going to clip away that little piece there. Make sure you put your finger over it so that it doesn't go flying off. And then I just take my pliers and tuck it in just a little bit and straighten that loop like that. All right. And then I have a little jump ring. This is a 5mm jump ring. And I think it's a 22 gauge. It's either 22 or 24 gauge, but it's thin. And where's the opening? There we go. Is that it? Yeah. So front to back, never side to side. And then I am feeding my bellflower with the cut side to the back, so you don't see the cut side. You only see the wraps. And then I added my leaf to it. Is it going to play nice? There we go. And then I had already started the chain here, so then I just added it to the bottom of the chain, like so. Oops. All right. So my jump ring isn't quite closed, so I'm going to just snug that up there if I can. With my 2 pliers, and how I do that is I just rock it back and forth to where it's closed. And then this is the top of the piece that comes down the center. And that's what that looks like for this. And then I'll just attach it with a jump ring like I showed you. I have the leaves in there also that I've already attached. And so I will go ahead and add that just like I did this, and then that part will be complete. And then again, attaching my leaves to the sides with jump rings. We are over our time actually by 4 minutes, so I do apologize. If there's anything else you'd like to see regarding this pendant, I can make a short just simply showing it to you. Otherwise, I think we'll be done, and we will be moving on to the next challenge. So I do hope you enjoyed this butterfly pendant challenge. I hope that you will join the Maureen Bradley Designs group. I'm going to be posting the next challenge in the group there. I will be posting my finished pieces on the Maureen Bradley Designs Instagram and Facebook pages. So look for that. And I hope you'll come join us and like and subscribe to the Maureen Bradley Designs channel in this video. I do thank you, and I hope you have a marvelous rest of your day.